Start letting them in. Good morning, good morning. Remember, if you can, please have your cameras on. I do like to see smiling faces. I think I've got everybody in on this rainy day. I'm going to cast the screen. I hope everybody got my email about this week's activities, and I did post early this morning the student guide on this week's topic. And remember, this week's topic is open houses. And that always gets me excited because that's where I got my very first client. And so it was a great source of business for me. Actually, for my business, it was the second leading revenue generating activity for me in my business. First was my database, and then second was open houses, and third were internet leads on my listings. So let's get everybody. Yep, and then we'll go and we'll bring up the slides for today. And so some of you participated in the trunk or treat on Saturday. So I'd love to hear how it went. Whitney, are you in a position to share with us? How did the trunk or treat go?
Oh, it was
Hold on a second
fantastic.
and let
We
me
had
check
so
my
much
volume
fun.
to make sure we've got volume to be able to hear you. There.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, it was fabulous. There were so many little kids. It was a really good atmosphere. Like, I really did enjoy it.
Your costume was awesome.
Yeah, everybody was dressed up. It was great.
So for your very first, and that was your very first client event, correct?
Yes.
So how hard was it to do?
It was not hard. I honestly, all my creepy stuff I already had. And so we just had to dress up and come and get some candy or bring some candy and come, and everything was pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Love it. I love it. Anybody else participate? Let me see who else we have on. We have Elena, Whitney, Jody, Olivia, Ellie, Jamie, and Alice. Hi. You this morning. Good. Let me give you a student guide for this morning. Did you trunk or treat this? Do you want to move up a little bit closer? No, sure. So that you're not so far away. Edgar, come on in. Come on in. Let's try not to be on the back row, just so that we don't look like a white tank. Good morning. Okay, we were just talking about the trunk or treat, how successful it was this weekend. And what I loved about it is we originally were going to do it in the parking lot for trunk or treat, right? But the weather was so iffy and the forecast kept changing that on Friday, we already had this room set up to go. So we were able to just flip the plans, do a pivot, and they put it in here, and the decorations were amazing. They had a good turnout. And if you saw Angel is one of our launch coaches. He was in wizard costume and dancing with a skeleton. So there's some fun video from that. It is a way for you to have fun and connect with people that could be future clients. So this can be a very easy plug and play client event, especially when you're new. It may feel a little intimidating to put on your own client event. And then your very first one, maybe not that many people come and you're like, oh, we're all looking at each other. Well, yes.
We'll send you a flyer once Ivanhoe neighborhood approves it, but at the CPR on December 9th from 4 to 8, I'm having a toy drive for the kids in the Ivanhoe neighborhood.
Toy drive.
Yeah,
Love that.
Go to their neighborhood association, they have a toy distribution. And each toy you bring will get you a raffle ticket, and you'll be entered to win a $50 gift card for Queso Beer Co. and $100 Visa time.
I love that. I love that. So Alice is actually plunging ahead and doing her own client event. And remember, we do events not only to build and strengthen relationships, but it is a great excuse to reach out to people. Because when you're new, you don't know what to reach out and say to them. I mean, you don't want to go and breathe heavy on them. You don't want to sound salesy. Most people don't. You want to connect with people and see, do they need you? Do they need you now? But that's why we do client events. Also, we do client seminars. Our office, remember, we host 4 or sponsor, you all host. We sponsor 4 client seminars. These are informational seminars that we do quarterly. We'll do one in January or February. I'm looking at the calendar now on home buying. We'll do one on home selling. And I might flip them. Last couple of years, I've been doing the home selling first, because people usually need to prepare their properties. So they may need a couple of months to figure out what to do to get top dollar for their property. And then we do, along with the home buying, home selling, we do a downsizing. And then the one that we did in October, earlier this month, we did the investing, real estate investing. That's always a very popular one. This is for you all to have a reason to reach out to people and have conversations. And so it just kind of smooths the path to a conversation, because you're not trying to force anything on them. You're giving them something of value, an opportunity of value, or an opportunity of fun with the trunk or treat. So again, we do these events for the overall experience and how much time it gives us in connecting with people. We don't do them just for the event itself. Does that make sense? You do it for all the contacting you do in the beginning. You do the one-on-one time you get with them at an event, and then all the follow-up that you do for the people who came and for the people who didn't come. To say, especially on the seminars, hey, I saw that you weren't able to come to the investing seminar. Have you ever thought about real estate investing? If so, I learned some really great things. I'd love to share that with you. And know that I've got an investing 101 booklet. I'm going to close the store. It's hard to compete with people's voices. So just keep that in mind. Let's jump in, and thank you, Connor, for having your camera on. The rest of you, I do not see your faces, and I would love to. Let's go. I'm going to share screen here so that we can get into the material for this week. I'm going to start. But before I do, I just want to acknowledge and introduce our guest, Sarah. Sarah, are you in the licensing process right now?
I actually am licensed
Okay,
in Kansas.
awesome.
And then I'll be pursuing that in Missouri as well soon.
Okay.
So just checking out brokerages and.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you are here.
Yep.
This is giving you just a taste of our launch, which launch is our new agent program, a coaching and training program, 1-year program. I'm sure Katie's told you about it. It is where we partner you with your own coach for that first 12 months of real estate, which are usually the most exciting and the scariest at the same time as you're getting started. So right now, the course that we're in and doing live is called Lead Gen 36-12-3. And what that can anybody tell me what the 36-12-3 means? No, but it does. Yeah, we do have the 36 touch, but no. And that's on me for not repeating what it is. 36, this course is all about how to go get business. So we're exposing you to all the different ways you can go get business. And there are more than what we're going to cover, the 12 topics here. But these are the core ones. These are the ones you're going to hear the most about other agents doing, what have you. But like I said, there are other or kind of spin-offs on some of these, right? But this is taking a deep dive into all the different ways to go get business. And so this course is if you do, especially if you focus on 3 forms of lead gen a year, make these your top priorities, where you put your time, effort, and money, then the result should be 36 transactions in 12 months with 3 hours of lead gen minimum a day. Dedicated time. If you're not dedicating time to lead gen every day, it's going to be hard to get this business off the ground. So 36 transactions, 12 months with 3 hours minimum of lead gen. And when you're new, if you're not in trainings, if you're not in learning mode, then you should be in lead generation mode. And remember, lead generation, what's the first thing that comes to most of your minds when I say lead gen? Is there a certain way of doing it that comes to your mind right away? What? Cold calls? Yeah. That is usually the default. Our brains default go, oh, because I'm assuming most of you are not in love with cold calling. Am I right? Yeah. Am I? Yeah. Some of you are fine with it. Some of you are comfortable with it. But I just know after watching agents, especially new agents over the years, that most of us, that is not our ideal way of wanting to go connect with people. So that's why we're showing you all the different ways to do it. And when you work with your coach, they're going to actually help coach you to figure out what's the best way for you. Not the best way for someone else, but what is going to be the best vehicles to connect with people for you. So one of them, this is the reason I'm so excited about this week, is open houses. So a lot of you probably do not know this, but my very first client came from my very first open house. And I was at the office, I'd been at the office less than 10 days. That first client was all luck. I don't want you to think like I had some superior skill. Matter of fact, that open house didn't necessarily go very well. And we'll talk about that in here in just a little bit. I want to share this experience with you because truly I was very lucky that that happened. And so for me, that first open house made open houses just like, okay, I love these. This is great. And so it became one of the forms of lead generation that I spent a lot of time on and that I did there in the beginning, I did them almost every single week. I was doing open houses and I was getting good leads and I was gaining clients. So for me, I have a soft spot in my heart for open houses. It may not be a match for all of you, and that's okay. However, if you're going to have listings, you may have sellers who feel very strongly about open houses, thus you may have to do them. Make sense? And so I'd rather, if you're going to do them only for your listings, I want you at least to know enough that you do them well to make them worth your while. Because if you don't, then you're going to begrudge open houses and say, they don't work. I can't stand them. They're a waste of time. Well, they can be if not done right, if not done properly. So for those of you on Zoom, I did upload on the Launch Facebook page. You will find the student guide there. If you all will please scan the QR code. Let's get all checked in for this class. That would be awesome. Appreciate that very much. Usually Megan is here. Our other launch code is here with me on Tuesday mornings, but she is working with Lacilia, one of our new agents, writing an offer. So good luck to Lacilia. Hope this goes through and that her offer gets accepted. And remember, when you're writing offers, that you work with your coach and with our contracts coach, Linda. Linda has to review every single contract document before you send it out for your clients to sign. And that's why we love our new agents, but you scare us a little bit. You are a legal liability because you just don't know what you don't know yet. And so there's several reasons we are so strict about the contract process and offer process. It is to protect you, legally protect you. If we protect you, we're protecting your client. It's also to protect the brokerage. And here's another thing. It is also so that when you submit your offer to that listing agent, because it has been reviewed by your coach and definitely by Linda, that offer should never scream, you're brand new. Because Linda and I can look at an offer and 9 times out of 10, we can tell if a new person filled it out. Because you'll be missing things, or you'll check the wrong thing, or you do some obvious mistakes that are very consistent with brand new people who have little to no training. And so also that's why Linda teaches her contracts classes every month. She has those, and then we also have them on digital chalk so that you can watch all of the videos so that you can learn contracts at a high level. Because it is your job. It is definitely your job to learn the contracts. Okay, let's go over what all are we going to cover this week in open houses. So we're going to go why they can be your secret weapon to building business and connecting with people. And also we're going to go through open houses work. We're going to debunk some myths out there about open houses. And we're going to talk about the reality of why they're proven to be a winner for many agents. We're going to talk about what do you do before that open house? And that can make the difference. No, it will make the difference. What you do before that open house will make the difference on what kind of traffic you have. I should never hear from any of you that I had no one come to my open house. Now, does it happen? It can, but it should not be something that happens very often, because that tells me that your preparation, your before the open house was inadequate, or you chose the wrong open house, the wrong property. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what do you do when there are people coming in? What do you do with these people? How do you talk to them? What questions do you ask them? And then equally as important is what do you do after the open house? That follow-up is critical, and I'll share with you how I won a lot of clients because of the way I did my follow-up. And then how do you become that #1 market agent? And how do you dominate an area? And sometimes open houses can help you do that by picking to do open houses before you get your own listings. So that's what we're going to be covering this week. Let's get digging in to, yeah. So in our world, Sarah, we have a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent Book. Gary Keller, our co-founder, wrote that book with Jay Papasan, and it is designed to be your 5-year plan that if you follow the systems and models laid out in that book, there's no reason you can't earn whatever amount of money you want to earn in 5 years, even $1 million. And we have $1 million agents in this office. So in that book, Gary Keller talks about METs and haven't METs. Can anybody tell me what METs are and what haven't METs are? Louder, Alice. Okay, clients you have or contacts. They don't even have to be clients. Really, your METs are everybody in here. You know them on some level, some really deep, really tight relationships, some you barely know, but you know them. There's some level of connection. Haven't METs are strangers that you hope to develop a relationship so that you can help them if they have a real estate need. So open houses are a great way to build your database, because your database is your, well, it is your direct link to success. The strength and depth of your database is going to translate into your pocketbook. And so if you only have less than 100 people in your phone right now, that's what you're going to put in your database. You need more. I'm just going to be honest. You need more. That's not going to be enough, because remember when we talked about turnover rates of people buying and selling? Traditionally, does anybody remember what the traditional turnover rate percentage is for, say, we can do it for the people in your database? What percent of them in a year traditionally are going to buy or sell a house? Anybody remember that percentage?
It's 7%,
A little higher, Connor.
10, 12.
10 to 12. 10 to 12. What is it right now, like last year and this year? I haven't seen the actual numbers for this year, but I'm gonna say it's right around last year. Anybody know what it is right now? Or was last year?
I feel like I remember 4.
Yes, Ellie, 4. So think of that. If you take your size of your database times 4%, that's gonna tell you the potential business you could get from that number of people. That's not a guarantee. You gotta be in relationship with them for it to work, but that's your potential. So if you've got a small database, then you need to grow that, and open houses are a great way to do that. Matter of fact, one of my experienced agents he's in my growth coaching program. I have another level of coaching. Once you're at a launch, you can join growth, which many new agents do after they finish their first year. And he needs to grow his database. He went through a divorce. He and his wife were partners in real estate. And so he didn't keep the whole database. He couldn't. Some people wanted to go with her. Some people wanted to stay with him. And he says, I've got to grow my database. We had our coaching meeting, we meet twice a month for one-on-one coaching. And he said to me, in the last quarter, I grew my database by 25 people. Awesome. He's going to do 25 more this quarter, and he's doing it mostly through open houses. So he's getting those leads, making those connections, and adding those people onto his database so they can be future business. So haven't mets, and most of those haven't mets coming into open houses, most of them are potential buyers, right? Actually, we know that most people, when they're beginning their home buying search or journey, many of them go to an open house before they ever decide on an agent. And then neighborhood sellers. Never underestimate the power of neighbors coming to your open house. Matter of fact, I should never hear you say, oh, it's just nosy neighbors. Yes, okay, let's be real. Are some neighbors nosy and they just want to see the inside of their neighbor's house and they've been dying to see it? They've never been invited over, so they're coming over to see it. But guess what else? We're going to talk about what else they could be thinking about as they come into that open house. So you want to connect with those people for multiple reasons, and we'll dive into that. Leads. If you've been doing some open houses or you've connected with some potential buyers, then be inviting them to every open house you give. One, I know that not all of the open houses are going to be a match for them, but you want to let them know that you're thinking of them and that they could come by because you'll be holding an open house this weekend. And it keeps you connected with them. And you might be able to say to them, here's the reason you might want to come to this open house, Edgar. It has that kitchen island that you told me that you so wanted in your next house. And this one has an amazing, beautiful kitchen island. I'd love you to come by and see it. I know it's kind of not in the neighborhood you were thinking of, but come by and see it. And then Mets, the people that you know, the people in your database, those could be potential sellers and buyers in your database. And remember, your Mets here in the beginning, they've got to see you doing real estate to believe that it's true. They're not going to think of you, Sarah, as a real estate agent immediately. Some might, But most people, we've actually found in our database class that we did a couple of weeks ago, last week or the week before, we found that on average, statistics show that when you tell someone you're a real estate agent, they'll forget in 16 days. On average, they'll forget that fact about you unless you are reminding them of that. That repetition works. That's why advertising and marketing is so successful. It's the repetitive messaging. So, and also, here's the other thing, open houses, they're a really low pressure environment, at least most of them are. I have been in some open houses where the agent pretty much jumped on me. Boom, pounced. That's why I want you visiting other people, other agents' open houses. I want you to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of what other people do, so that you will, and tell them that you're a real estate agent, you're a new real estate agent, and just building your market knowledge, which you will be by going, seeing other houses. And also you're seeing, what can I pick up from them? Or what do I never want to do? That's something I never would do, like not get off the sofa and not even really greet someone. And some agents don't. They don't. They don't see open houses as the awesome opportunity that they really are. I love this. Here's a top producing agent in our company from Virginia. He says, open houses are the easiest, simplest, fastest, and cheapest way to grow your business. And right now, you guys are so lucky. Here's why you're so fortunate. We have more inventory, houses for sale right now, and it's been growing this year. Last couple of years, it was such an extreme seller's market that there were very few listings and you didn't have as many opportunities to hold houses open. And when you're new, I'm going to tell you, since this can be truly one of the first lead gen activities you do besides your database and can have success with, you want to have an opportunity to do as many as possible. And that's why being in an office, we have like 310 agents in this office, between this office and our Waldo office. That gives you a bigger inventory to choose from until you start getting your own listings. Does that make sense? So your opportunities to hold opens will be proportionate to the number of agents in an office that have listings. So that's where it's beautiful. Think about this. This is what's pretty amazing about open houses. Another agent, hi Olivia, another agent will give you the opportunity to hold their listing open. And you owe them nothing except to do it in a professional manner. Any leads that come in from that open house are yours. You get to keep those. So they're literally giving you their property to do lead gen in. Pretty amazing. And here's the thing, even though you have to give listing credit, like if you're going to promote this and market it, you have to say who the listing agent is and the brokerage name. And remember, you can only do open houses within our brokerage, and that's for legal liability reasons. Your E&O insurance will not cover you if you do agent activities with a listing or a property that is with a different brokerage. So you cannot. It was kind of a loosely adhered thing for many years, but last year with the lawsuits that were brought against agents and brokerages on collusion and commissions, all of that. I don't know if you followed that last year, but it was not fun. It was not. The good thing is, even though it seemed so bad at the time, all the lawsuits that were happening and the settlements, they seemed so bad. It's actually not had huge impact on us and our business, which is good. But because of that, all brokerages had to get a lot more focused about legal liabilities and doing things to the law and not kind of like, oh, that's not so important. So that's one of the reasons you can't do open houses for other agents at other brokerages. But like I said, we got 310 agents here that, and many of them have listings. So open housing. Are you at an open house to sell the house or pick up buyers? What do you think?
Both,
People do.
both.
Yeah, well, I've got
You're
it up.
trying to sell the house for the listing agent, but you aren't personally selling.
Yeah. I'm gonna even be more blunt than that, Connor. Most of us do it to get leads. Guess what percentage of buyers actually buy a house from open houses? 3 to 5%. So most people coming in the door at an open house, that is not gonna be their house. The vast majority of them, like 95% of them, coming through that door. So, but we don't tell our sellers that because sellers just want exposure. And that is part of our job, is get that listing out in front of as many different potential buyers and buyers agents as possible. And all these different activities can add up. Because if they did get a buyer off that open house, they'd be sold on an open house, right? As a seller, they think, ah, that's the best thing. That's what brought my buyer. But most of us as agents, we are doing this activity to get buyers or seller leads from people who are thinking about selling their house and buying a house. I actually, when I get a listing in my materials, Jeffrey? Thanks for that. I actually have in my pre-listing information to a seller, I actually tell them how many open houses I'm going to do in the time that I list that house. Why do you think I put a parameter on that?
Just setting expectation.
Perfect, Jeffrey. Setting expectations, and I am a perfect example of what could happen. Before I got my real estate license, sold my house, had my house listed. And guess what I said to my agent? You will hold this open every weekend until it sells. And she looked at me and goes, of course. She had new agents hold it open. She never held it open. And I could probably, she was actually my cousin. And I know now what she was saying. She's like, oh, you were one of those. I want it held open. No matter what she would have told me, I would have said, I still want it held open, even if only 3 to 5% of the people. But it could be that 3 to 5 that walks in the door %, right? So I wanted everything possible, especially since I had already gone under contract to buy my house with a bridge loan. So I had the potential of owning 2 houses at one time. So I had a sense of urgency. So, and so I learned that if we don't put parameters and set expectations with sellers, you might get someone like me. Which if you're new and you only have one listing, oh, maybe you can hold it open every Sunday or every Saturday, whatever day it is. But if you have more than one listing, how are you going to do that? So I would always say we'll do a maximum of 1 to 2. And then if for any reason we see the value together, we see the value of continuing that, like if it was a hot house and I was getting a lot of leads, I might do a 3rd. But I was in control of that. It wasn't the client dictating what my activity was going to be. Make sense? So 50% buyers visit open houses. Half of all home buyers attend at least one open house during their search process, and I will guarantee you it's in the beginning of their search process. It's because they're kind of scared of us. We might force them to buy a house. So they're like, oh, I don't know. I don't. Guess where they dip their toe in first in searching for homes? Where do they start? Online. Online. Because that's the safest. There's no agent around. I can just look at houses, and then they want to touch and feel. So what do they have to do? Open house is the next logical step is, okay, I'll dip my toe in, we'll go into an open house. And then if they understand and someone explains to them, they'll find that not all listings are held open. And thus, unless they have an agent to open doors for them, they're not going to get in to every listing. So this is an important way that many buyers start their journey, is through open houses. Now, you're going to have some that are going to come through and say, I'm already working with an agent. Don't get discouraged. Ask questions to see how true that is. Because sometimes, especially in this day and age, this has kind of been the default response. Like when you go shopping and somebody says, may I help you? What do you say, Sarah?
Just browsing at the moment.
Default. Yeah. So some of the buyers out there, their default is, oh, I'm working with an agent. I've got questions that I ask to kind of really figure out if they truly are or not, and still being helpful, not grill them. 44% agents host open houses. Nearly half of agents use open houses as part of their marketing strategy and their lead gen. 7%, this is high. I think it's more the 3 to 5% buyers find their home through an open house. But it is, the data proves that open houses are one of your most reliable, trusted ways for consumers and for agents to connect. How many of you have done an open house? Jeffrey's done an open house. Alice has done an open house. So let's see. Connor's done an open house. I know Jody has. Ellie, you've done an open house. Elena, have you done an open house yet?
Yes, many times.
Jamian, have you done an open house?
I haven't done an open house yet. I need to soon though.
Okay, okay. Let's see who else. Tamisha, have you done an open house?
No, I haven't done one yet.
Okay, okay. It is one, like I said, one of the easiest ways to get your foot in there, get out in front of people and connect. So I'm remember I was gonna share with you my first experience. So I had people telling me, you've got to do, as a brand new agent, just I had gone through like 2 days of training at my corporate office. I was with a different brokerage, and there's not good or bad, there's just differences. So I only got like 2 days of training. And they kept saying, do open houses, do open houses. Went to my office, my branch office, and I only knew one agent in there. So I went to Al and I said, Al, do you have any properties I can hold open? Because everybody's saying I should hold a house open. He goes, yeah, I've got this vacant property. It was in Overland Park, close to Roland Park. And I still remember the house. It was a little ranch, 2-bedroom. I don't think no basement, no basement. I didn't know that I should go preview that house before I held it open. I didn't know that I should really look at the seller's disclosure and have it printed up and with me. All I had was a sign-in sheet and some pointer signs. And luckily it was off of Knoll, a very busy street. So I got good traffic, but it was in the beginning of March and it was still very cold outside. And I walk in the house to get all set up and it was vacant. And I didn't know I should have like the folding table and chairs. I didn't know that that's a thing. I just thought, oh, you just go in the vacant house. And it's cold in the vacant house. So I go to the thermostat and I'm trying to turn it on. Nothing's happening. I'm calling the listing agent. It's Sunday morning. He's probably at church. Nobody's answering. And I'm like, and it's cold. And I'm like, dang. So I finished getting set up. I get my signs up, a pointer sign in the corner. I've got a sign in the front yard saying open house. And it is cold and people are coming in. I'm getting a good crowd coming in, but it's really cold. So I think, I'm gonna turn on the oven, open it up. So I open the oven, That's how we kept a little warm. And from that open house, I got 3 good leads. And one turned out to be my first buyer. And we went shopping almost immediately. So I was very lucky, and I emphasize the luck. I was very lucky that that happened and that she was ready to go. We got her pre-approved, we went out shopping. So we found a house in a couple of weeks. So I had a closing within my first 90 days, which is very, very lucky. I didn't have another closing for 3 months. So the luck factor was nice. I thought, oh, this is easy. But I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what questions to ask people. I didn't know what I should be offering them. I didn't do any research in the neighborhood. I didn't know what other houses were for sale. I didn't know what the average sales price was in that. I didn't do a CMA before I did that open house. You should every single time. Because if I had wanted to, like I said, I got lucky, and these were first-time home buyers. My client, that's important to add. So she didn't know what I didn't know. She was clueless, and so was I. Alice.
No, I've been in CMA, I've been doing like my favorite comps.
Uh-huh.
Because, you know, I'm not thinking I'm gonna get the person who's gonna buy that house, but maybe someone comes in without an agent that wants to buy another house, so I'm doing my favorite comps so that they can see it, and maybe I'll be the agent that can take them.
You're showing value is what you're doing. Alice is actually doing a CMA and taking it with her to her open houses. That is a great, because you're not going to get good at CMAs unless you practice. CMA is a comparable market analysis. It's looking for houses that have sold previously in that area that are similar to evaluate either what kind of offer to make on that home if you're representing the buyer, or a pricing strategy if you're going to be representing a seller and listing that home. So I want you all, tell me about some of your open houses or ones that you have gone to. Let's get people on Zoom. Tell me about an open house that you've gone to or one that you held, either a successful one that you held that you got pretty good traffic and you maybe got a lead or two. And then also I want to hear about one that was just like a total flop. Jeffrey.
Do you want to hear about it? I had mine a couple weeks ago. Nobody came. My only visitor was a stray cat. Dropped onto the patio, ran around, smacked into the back door, and then ran off.
Okay.
That was the only living thing I saw for 2 hours until the next guy came over.
Okay.
To take the next slot.
Okay. Who else? Alice, you've held an open house?
Yes.
How was it? Tell me about your open house.
My first. Hour. Person who bought that house.
Wow.
They've been cool, they've been nice. Yeah, I don't think you're really gonna, I mean, you could, but you're not really gonna find the buyer for that house doing the open house, but it has been really great for networking and contacting other leads and putting out your marketing, you know, so that people know. I've seen people that said they have an agent pick up my marketing. So, and I don't ask them directly, I kind of do like you do, ask them like sneaky
The questions.
like-
Not sneaky, just
So I
connected.
feel like you, because they look like they're doing, they know what to do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'll say, so in my neighborhood, there's not a lot of turnover. So a lot of the people have built their houses, stayed in it.
Right.
So anytime there's any activity, like an open house, someone's selling a home, all the neighbors like to go and check it out. And actually, it kind of gets the wheels turning for the neighbors. Maybe they've been on the fence about, you know, selling, moving into something smaller or something more, you know,
Mhm.
maintenance provided. So I feel like in that situation, it's very helpful because, you know,
Definitely. It plants seeds.
yes,
And like I said, we're gonna talk about the things that go through sellers' minds when they're going to an open house. You think they're just nosy neighbors, but there's more possibly going on that they're not. No, I have never had a neighbor come into the door and say to me, I want to sell my house. Never. That's not how they present themselves. They might start asking questions that might give me some selling signs, and I'll be like, oh, I think you're thinking about, I gotta ask some more questions, what have you. What about on Zoom? Share with me some of your open house experiences. Elena?
Yes, I can share. This past weekend, I was in Lenexa hosting an open house for an agent. And actually, the neighbor came to me when I was trying to set up a sign and it wouldn't go. So she brought not a hammer, but some other tool to help me. And then she said, oh, we can't wait for that neighbor that you're selling the house just to leave the neighborhood. So, I mean, that was kind of surprising that they always tell you information that you don't necessarily need to know, but it's always there, you know?
Elena, you are so correct. Can I tell you, neighbors love to share.
Yes.
They'll
And
tell you stuff.
yes. Yeah.
They will tell you who's a bad neighbor, who's getting a divorce. They will tell you,
Yes.
they'll tell you everything. They'll tell you, oh, they had a flood in their basement. Oh, they had,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
tell you everything.
Yeah. She even mentioned, she actually said that they're kind of like a black sheep in that suburb, like this specific street, because they don't care of the like shreds, then all the bushes are not in the right. So she was just giving me so much information. She said, your agent came and made it like all look nice. And I'm like, oh, okay, good to know.
So sometimes the neighbors are very grateful for our activities. And she's right. I cannot tell you. That's why when you're talking to a potential seller, this is just a little side note, but it's a great reminder, is remember, tell them to disclose everything about the house. You can never over disclose, because if you don't, your neighbors will. I had a buyer, we were in inspections, we were at the inspections, and my neighbor, I mean, my client, he was this, it was a couple, but he was really curmudgeonly, and it took a long time to win him over. And he sees the neighbor in the yard and he goes to introduce himself to the neighbor. And they're chatting away, and the inspector's in the house doing his thing. And my buyer comes back to me and says, you know what the neighbor just told me? Just said, well, when their basement flooded, they did a good job of redoing it. I don't remember anything on the seller's disclosure about flooding, do you? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I'll call the listing agent. The listing agent, I knew her. I call her, and the tone of her voice told me everything. She goes, I'll get back with you. Like, she had no clue. The seller had not told her anything. Seller was an attorney. You're thinking, what were you thinking? Here's what some sellers think. There was an issue. I took care of it. Why would I have to disclose it? Even though an attorney should know. Should have read the legal document. Well, the reason you're going to disclose it, because your neighbors will. There was a subdivision where somebody passed away in the house. I know this is grim, but nobody found him for a while. At every open house, the neighbors would come over, because several of our agents held this house open. The neighbors would come over and share the gruesome detail. And sometimes when there were buyers in the house, I'm like, oh my God. So just never underestimate what neighbors will say. So that's where those open houses, we're going to talk about why you should always have traffic at your open house. You should never have an open house where nobody attends. I think I had one, and I was able to determine why, what I didn't do. It is usually due to what we didn't do, the reason we don't have traffic. And when you're new, you don't know all the things you can do yet. So yes, you might have one or two where nobody comes, but we're gonna teach you how to make certain that doesn't happen again. Okay? And I want you looking at how when you go to visit open houses, I want you to take note of how that agent is acting. Remember what I said? There are some that will not get up off the sofa and greet you. They'll just grunt. And then they'll just leave you. They won't tell you. No communication or social skills whatsoever. But there are some that are going to do such a good job. You're like, that's how I want to hold an open house. The changing point for me on open houses is when I realized I have to think of it as holding a party in a house. I have to make an event. So I always brought my own music. I always had some snacks, not a lot. Don't buy a big cookie plate tray because you'll probably be taking that home with you. And you'll be eating it, which is fine, but I was trying to keep from not doing that. So I just buy small things. If you're in an all white house, do not be serving chocolates or chocolate chip cookies in the summer. Some little kid eats that and yeah. Alice, you were gonna say something.
Like, next week we do more. Yeah. Like that, our nation trades, to have like 6 cookies, doesn't look as appealing as I think, I'm just pumped about it.
Yeah. Okay, and then if you hosted, how many leads did you generate? What follow-up actions did you take? I want you thinking about that because on Thursday, we're gonna go deeper into all of this and talk about what is the most successful way to hold an open house. And there's more than one way. We're gonna talk about different tactics because different things work for different people. But we're gonna show you a variety of them so that when you hold an open house, it's gonna be worth your while. You're not just babysitting a house. You should have results from it every single time. Make sense? Okay, all right. So those of you on Zoom, I want you to log off of Zoom and then join us on the office Facebook page. And also make sure that you're accessing the student guide and reading it. If you all would read the student guide before Thursday, that would be awesome. And be ready to share, and we're gonna do some stuff together on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.